You're live from New Delhi, watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to leave on a 5-nation tour of the Global South on Wednesday. It will be the longest foreign visit by him in over a decade. Quad leaders condemn Pahalgam terror attack, call for perpetrators, organisers and financiers to be brought to justice, launch Quad Critical Minerals Initiative, key initiatives announced to strengthen maritime and transnational security across Indo-Pacific. US President Trump announces Israel agrees on terms for a 60-day ceasefire deal in Gaza, wants Hamas to accept before conditions worsen. US Senate narrowly passes Trump's ambitious One Big Beautiful Bill Act after J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote. Trump praises it as transformative win. Republicans remain divided on key provisions. Russian President Putin holds telephonic conversation with French counterpart in first talks since 2022. Talks focus on Iran and Ukraine conflict. Macron agrees to talk with Putin again in near future. And on to the details now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will begin his crucial 8-day 5-nation visit from today, which will be the longest foreign visit by him in over a decade. The extensive diplomatic outreach will see him travel to Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Brazil and Namibia, all members of the Global South. Therefore, the visits will have a strong focus on strengthening India's partnership in the Global South. Well, the first stop would be Ghana, which will be the first such visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the West African country in 3 decades. DD India correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya gives us details from Accra.
India and Ghana share warm, time-tested ties built on common democratic values and a shared vision for development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Ghana from July 2nd to 3rd is not just symbolic, it's a strategic move to reinforce South-South cooperation. This is the first high-level visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 30 years, signalling a renewed focus on Africa.
There will be delegation-level talks, during which the bilateral relations will be reviewed and also discuss various ways to strengthen and deepen bilateral relations. Honorable Prime Minister will have a one-on-one meeting with his counterpart. Then there will be a banquet dinner in honor of Honorable Prime Minister. The next day, Prime Minister will be addressing the Parliament, and he also will be interacting with the Indian community there, which is about 15,000 in number.
Trade and investment and development cooperation are the key pillars of India-Ghana relations. Leaders from both nations are expected to explore new areas for collaboration with a strong focus on economic growth and inclusive partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also address Ghana's parliament in this trip.
During the visit, there will be few focus items. Will be agriculture, where the Ghanaian leader, the president, is keen to engage with India. He is also keen on the vaccine development, creating a vaccine hub in Ghana, for not just Ghana, but also the West Africa context. Defense cooperation will become an important item on the agenda, and the critical minerals and the digital public infrastructure.
Prime Minister Modi's visit aims to elevate bilateral cooperation across strategic sectors and reaffirm India's commitment to the Global South. The visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi aims to deepen ties across key sectors including economy, energy, defense and development cooperation, marking a significant diplomatic push in Ghana and a common vision for both India and Ghana for the Global South. With camera person Rakesh, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Accra, Ghana.
Well, the Indian diaspora continues to play a vital role in strengthening ties between India and Ghana. In a heartening example, Rajendra Mishra, Director, Alma Medical Laboratory, is a dedicated member of the Indian community in Ghana, has taken it upon himself to provide medical assistance to local communities, reflecting the spirit of service that defines India's global outreach. Mishra says the people of Ghana are excited to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi and are optimistic about deeper collaboration with India in healthcare and beyond. We get you this ground report from Accra.
Joining me is Rajendra Mishra, Indian diaspora member who's been working here in Ghana for long, and especially when it comes to medical infrastructure. Sir, tell us how you guys are helping. India is helping Ghana in this field.
See, India, we are Indian. We have our diagnostic center here. We are helping Ghanaians a lot, and Ghanaians are also, they are very cool. They are helping us a lot, but they need a lot of infrastructure. They need a lot of medical help in the remote area. In the city, we have some good hospitals, but in the remote area, we don't have any good hospital. So, Indian government can help them a lot to do health facility better in the remote area. There are hospitals in the remote area, in the building, and all the technology.
Are they looking forward to Prime Minister's visit? I mean, I know a lot of people are actually talking about Prime Minister Modi. They believe that he can do a lot for Ghana.
Definitely, Ghanaians are very excited. Even we heard this news from Ghanaians. Our Prime Minister is coming. They are very excited. They are waiting a lot of things that Prime Minister will announce in the infrastructure, in there something like, let's see, technology, food technology, a lot of things, agriculture. Agriculture is very back here. So they can also help in the agriculture. See, in India, advance in the medical agriculture. So they are expecting a lot of things from Indian Prime Minister to announce, and they can do the tie-up, and they could do a lot of things.
You are a member of Indian diaspora. How excited you are and your community to welcome Prime Minister Modi?
See, here, like as a member, we always available for our community. Anytime, if we have any call that this person have problem, we send our team. Sometimes we go ourselves to help them to hospitalize in medication. And we have some team of the doctors. Doctors go there to help them, to all our Indian community and some Ghanaians also.
That's the Indian diaspora, helping the people in, Ghana, and making sure that India's name is called by many. They've been appreciated here, and that's the best part of Indian diaspora. Wherever they go, they make the place their own. And with Prime Minister Narendra Modi coming here, it's a huge opportunity for them to once again put forth their community here, and at the same time looking forward to welcoming Prime Minister Modi in Accra, Ghana. With Camera Person Rakesh, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for GD India from Accra, Ghana.
Well, Quad foreign ministers condemned unequivocally all acts of terrorism and violent extremism in all its forms and manifestations, including cross-border terrorism. In a joint statement issued by the US, India, Australia and Japan, the leaders renewed their commitment to counter-terrorism cooperation. Well, the leaders condemned in the strongest terms the Pahalgam terrorist attack, calling for the perpetrators, organizers and financiers of this reprehensible act to be brought to justice without any delay. The leaders also urged all UN member states, in accordance with their obligations under international law and relevant UNSCRs, to cooperate actively with all relevant authorities in this regard. The ministers also announced key initiatives to strengthen maritime and transnational security, economic prosperity and security critical and emerging technology, and support humanitarian assistance and emergency response across the region. Well, they also announced the launch of the Quad Critical Minerals Initiative, an ambitious expansion of our partnership to strengthen economic security and collective resilience by collaborating on security and diversifying critical mineral supply chains. This new flagship initiative, alongside the high-impact programs and outcomes the Quad is realizing, will enable the four countries to bring economic opportunity and prosperity to people and the region. Well, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar held a very productive meeting of Quad foreign ministers in Washington, D.C. The leaders discussed how to make Quad more focused and impactful on contemporary opportunities and challenges. Shankar said that today's gathering will strengthen strategic stability in the Indo-Pacific and keep it free and open. On the sidelines of the Quad Foreign Ministers meeting, Shankar met Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth in Washington, D.C. Two leaders had a productive conversation on advancing the India-US defense partnership, building on growing convergences of interest, capabilities and responsibilities.
We believe that our defense partnership is today truly one of the most consequential pillars of the relationship. It's not built merely on shared interests, but we believe really deepening convergence and of capabilities, of responsibilities, and what we do in the Indo-Pacific, we believe is absolutely crucial to its strategic stability. The world is a complicated place. I think perhaps growing in its complexity, and certainly our partnership and the contribution that we can make together, I think would be of immense importance, not just for us, I think, but for the larger region, I would even argue for the world.
Well, then came a meeting with U.S. counterpart, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. They discussed bilateral partnership, including trade, security, critical technologies, connectivity, energy and mobility. Shared perspectives on regional and global developments. Also, the External Affairs Minister held a useful conversation with the U.S. Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright. Shankar spoke about the energy transformation underway in India and opportunities for deeper India-U.S. energy partnership. Shankar also got the opportunity to meet his Australian counterpart, Penny Wong. The discussions were reflective of the trust and comfort of comprehensive strategic partnership. External Affairs Minister said that he looks forward to welcoming Wong in India.
We marked the 5th anniversary of our comprehensive strategic partnership. We are very pleased to have Richard Marles over on that occasion. Our Prime Ministers met recently in Canada on the sidelines of the G7 outreach. That was a very good meeting. When I look at relationships which are both important and comfortable for us today, we've taken it to a level where if there's any issue, we immediately reach out to each other. We are also, I think, today trusting enough of each other that we discuss a lot of other issues, the state of the world. In many ways, that tells you really what the quality of our ties is about.
While Shankar was in Washington, India's Defence Minister Raj Singh too held a telephonic conversation with his U.S. counterpart Pete Hegseth on Tuesday. Both the leaders held excellent discussion to review the ongoing and new initiatives to further deepen India-US defense partnership and strengthen cooperation in capacity building. Issues covered were long-term cooperation in the defense sector, including training and military exchanges, and expanding the industry collaboration. Well, Rajnath Singh conveyed his deep appreciation for the unwavering support extended by the U.S. to India in its fight against terrorism. Hegseth invited Rajnath Singh to the U.S. for an in-person meeting to take the bilateral defense partnership forward, on which the Indian leader said that he is looking forward to a meeting at an early date. This was their third telephonic conversation since January this year, when Mr. Pete Hegseth was confirmed as U.S. Secretary of Defense. And Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayake assured Indian investors that the island nation now offers a stable and business-friendly environment. Speaking to a visiting 15-member Indian business delegation from the Confederation of Indian Industry, Dissanayake highlighted efforts to tackle corruption, strengthen laws and boost investor confidence. The team is exploring opportunities in energy, infrastructure, tourism, agriculture and tech. The President said Sri Lanka is keen to welcome Indian investment across key sectors. The visit follows his earlier trip to India, where he had invited Indian businesses to partner in Sri Lanka's growth. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. U.S. halts some shipments of air defense missiles and other weapons to Ukraine after Pentagon reviews low stockpiles. We'll tell you all about Europe as it faces record-breaking early summer heat wave. And in sports, Kokogov crashes out of Wimbledon in shock first-round defeat. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lapakshi Khurana. And moving on, US President Donald Trump urged Hamas on Tuesday to accept a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, saying that Israel had agreed to finalize such a deal as the US forces also stepped up operations in the Palestinian territory. Trump, in a post on social media, said his representatives had met with Israeli officials about the raging conflict ahead of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Washington, scheduled for next week, in which Trump said he would be very firm. Trump said on Tuesday that he believed Netanyahu wanted to end hostilities in Gaza. Trump also said representatives of Qatar and Egypt, mediators in the conflict, would deliver this final proposal. In March, a previous ceasefire deal collapsed when Israel launched fresh strikes on Gaza. The previous ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, which started on 19th of January, was set up to have 3 stages but did not make it past the first stage. Also, Israel's military said it intercepted a missile launched from Yemen on Tuesday, while the Houthis claim to have also attacked Israel with drones. Following the interception, Israeli Defence Minister Israel Katz threatened the Houthi rebels and said Yemen will be treated like Tehran. Katz, in a social media post, said that after striking the head of the snake in Tehran, he will also strike the Houthis in Yemen. In a strong warning, Katz said anyone who raises a hand against Israel will have their hand cut off. Yemen's Houthi rebels have launched repeated missile and drone attacks against Israel since Hamas's October 2023 attack on Israel sparked the Gaza conflict. And French President Emmanuel Macron urged his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine in a first-ever talks held between the two leaders since 2022. Though the Russian leader blamed the West for the conflict during the 2-hour-long telephonic conversation and said that any peace deal should be comprehensive and long-term, provide for the elimination of the root causes of the Ukrainian crisis, and be based on new territorial realities. Putin also added that Western states had for many years ignored Russia's security interest and created an anti-Russian bridgehead in Ukraine. Other than Ukraine, the talks also focused on Iran, discussing Tehran's nuclear program, with Macron suggesting Moscow and Paris should work together to de-escalate tensions. Well, according to the statements, both the presidents agreed that the conflict over Iran's nuclear activities and other West Asian conflicts should be solved exclusively by diplomatic means, and that the two leaders would continue contacts on this, though the Kremlin said that Putin has emphasized on the lawful right of Tehran in developing a civilian nuclear program. The Pentagon has halted some shipments of air defense missiles and other precision munitions to Ukraine over concerns that U.S. stockpiles are too low. The Pentagon's slowing of some weapon shipments promised to Kyiv under former President Joe Biden's administration occurred in recent days. Among the weapons that are being delayed are air defense interceptors that would help knock down inbound Russian drones and missiles and other munitions. All weapons aid was briefly paused in February, with a second longer pause in March. The Trump administration resumed sending the last of the aid approved under Biden. Russia, which already controls about a fifth of Ukraine, continues to advance gradually, gaining ground in recent weeks in Ukraine's southeastern regions of Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk, and ramping up air attacks nationwide. And the U.S. Senate and Republicans passed President Donald Trump's massive tax and spending bill on Tuesday by the narrowest of margins. The legislation now heads to the House of Representatives for possible final approval, though a handful of Republicans there have already voiced opposition to some of the Senate provisions. Trump wants to sign it into law by the July 4th Independence Day holiday, and House Speaker Mike Johnson said in a statement that he aimed to meet that deadline. The Senate passed the measure in a 51-50 vote, with Vice President J.D. Vance breaking a tie after three Republicans, Thom Tillis of North Carolina, Susan Collins of Maine, and Rand Paul of Kentucky joined all 47 Democrats in voting against the bill. The vote followed an all-night debate in which Republicans grappled with the bill's price tag and its impact on the U.S. health care system. And now shifting to the escalating heat crisis across Europe, an unprecedented early summer surge in temperatures is impacting the continent. Following intense heat in southern Europe, the wave has moved northward, triggering Paris's first red alert since 2018. Similar warnings have been issued in Belgium, Switzerland and Germany. Officials emphasize extra care for vulnerable groups as experts describe the heat as a dangerous, silent killer. In Paris, authorities have limited public gatherings, extended park hours overnight and opened cooling centers. Around 2,000 schools nationwide closed early on Tuesday due to overheating and poor ventilation. Residents in Lille and Bordeaux sought relief under shaded areas and mist sprays as temperatures climbed beyond 40 degrees Celsius. Notable landmarks, including the Eiffel Tower and Brussels Atomium, shut down amid Northern Europe's 37-degree temperatures. Across the UK, dried-up reservoirs pushed people toward rivers and lakes for relief. Swimmers took to the Cherwell River as the mercury topped 30 degrees Celsius. Health advisories have also been issued in Spain, Italy, Portugal and the Netherlands. The United Nations described these conditions as exceptional, more typical of late summer. Scientists continue to attribute these extremes to fossil fuel-driven climate change. In northern Italy's Turin, locals found respite in public sprinklers and fountains. Children enjoyed water jets while others fanned themselves amid the 40-degree heat. The frequency of such severe weather events is raising concern and calls for sustained climate policies. The heat wave is expected to linger over southern Europe until at least Wednesday. Meanwhile, in Germany, workers in construction, roofing and street vending faced intense heat near 37 degrees Celsius. Roofers in Königswinter relied on irregular breaks in water buckets, while Berlin's currywurst vendors adapted their schedules and used cold storage facilities. Forecasts predict temperatures may soar to 40 degrees in some German regions. And on to some sports news now. First, updates from Wimbledon 2025. World number 1 Jannik Sinner and 11th seed Australian Alex de Minaur registered easy wins to advance into the next round. World number 1 Jannik Sinner eased effortlessly into the second round, defeating fellow Italian Luca Nardi in a 6-4, 6-3, 6-0 victory on Tuesday. Number 11 seed Australian Alex de Minaur edged past Spaniard Roberto Carballes Baena to move into the second round of Wimbledon on Tuesday. And women's single Kukukov crashed out of Wimbledon on a day of first-round shocks on Tuesday. US second seed Goff arrived at the All-England club with high hopes after winning the French Open last month, but was beaten by Ukrainian world number 42 Diana Yastremska. Another American, Jessica Pegula, also suffered a shock Wimbledon exit. The third seed was beaten by world number 116 Italy's Elisabetta Crociretto in straight sets. Meanwhile, defending Wimbledon champion Barbora Krejcikova avoided a first-round upset with a hard-fought victory over promising youngster Alexandra Ayala. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.